Hi, hello, what's up? My name is Liz and you're watching For Booking Out Loud. This month, I decided to participate in the SherlockAthon readathon, and it starts from October 19th to November 15th. So it's a month-long readathon dedicated to basically reading books that have to do with mystery, Sherlock Holmes in particular, and just dedicating your time to celebrating the Sherlock Holmes stories. There's 10 prompts and you can read up to 10 books or combine a couple, from my understanding. There is a website with all of this information that I will link in the description down below. But honestly, I'm really excited to participate in this readathon because I have actually these two copies of Sherlock Holmes. I think this one was the original copy that I owned, and then somehow I stole this copy from my brother or apprehended it, saved it. Somehow this ended up in my library from my brother's library. And then I actually have a third copy of Sherlock Holmes on my Kindle. And despite having 3 Sherlock Holmes books, I have never read it. I love the premise of the series. I know basically the key stories. I've watched the BBC series. I've watched that new series on American television. I'm not sure what channel. Lucy Liu, I believe, is Watson, that one. And then of course I've seen many different versions of the movies. So iconic book series, just never got around to it. So this is my golden opportunity to do so. So thank you. So in saying that, these 10 prompts, I want to read 9 books with them. I read a lot, but this isn't the only readathon that I'm planning for the month of October, even though this is a month-long readathon. I have quite a bit of reading to do. I have some big plans, but I wanted to fit this guy in, especially since it peels over into November. So in saying that, let's get into the prompts and what I am planning to read during these 4 weeks. So the first prompt is the retelling. The creators of this readathon wanted to make sure that there's a diverse choice book in here. So this prompt is just find a book with a diverse reading by an own voices author. And so I decided to do Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I've heard amazing things by this book, and this is going to be my first Jackson book. And if this one doesn't work out, I have a couple on standby that I think is own author, or that I think is own voices, but we'll see. I really want to read this one though, for this month actually. So the second prompt is called the Stout prompt, or it's all about Inspector Bradstreet in the series, the character Inspector Bradstreet. So read a book that is 500 pages or longer. And for my choice, I want to start the Lord of the Rings series within the next couple weeks. So what better book than The Fellowship of the Ring? Now, I don't know, this copy is only 409 pages long, but I know the original copy is a lot longer. This one just so happens to be the illustrated edition, so the pages are a lot bigger. So I'm just gonna count this since this was a suggested book on the website, and it's gonna happen. And it fits into my reading plans quite well. The third prompt is the Sedentary or Mycroft Holmes, and it says to read any book in one room. And so in going with my plan to start the Lord of the Rings series, I have to start with the Hobbit at some point. So I actually own the audio as well. And so I'll just probably end up reading it in this room. So the next prompt is The Capable or Inspector Gregson, and it's read a book you hope to learn something from. And I interpreted that as a nonfiction book. And like many of you know, I'm trying to read a whole bunch of Stephen King books because I inherited them. Oh, you can actually see some of them from here. So I will be reading On Writing by Stephen King, which is his nonfiction book. It's sort of like a memoir about him, but mostly about the craft of writing. Go figure. So hopefully I'll learn a little bit on writing. Yeah. And then The Woman, or Irene Adler, is the next prompt. And the creators of this readathon just asked that you read a book written by a woman, which is easy enough. And I want to read City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this is a story about a woman who was famous, I believe, in the 1940s and 1950s, but she's also been very secretive about her life. And you skip forward into the 1980s and she tells some type of journalist like why she was so secretive and more about her life and her life story. When I was reading the synopsis, it sounded really interesting. I know Elizabeth Gilbert is a pretty famous author. I think she read Eat, Pray, Love. Oh, wow. Yeah, it says so on the cover. She read Eat, Pray, Love. Wrote Eat, Pray, Love. So I'm hoping to learn a little bit about her writing style and see if I want to read more by Elizabeth Gilbert and just enjoy the book, City of Girls. And then we have the prompt of The Nemesis, or Professor James Moriarty. And this prompt is just to read a book that contains enemies. So quite a few books go and fit into this category, and I'm just gonna continue on with my Lord of the Rings vibe and read the second book in the trilogy of The Two Towers. There's a theme. It's okay. I accept it. And then you have The Scot, or Mrs. Hudson. And for this one, I am going to be picking up Sherlock Holmes. And I want to read one of my versions, and it will be exciting. So the next prompt is The Plagiarist, or Inspector Lestrade, and it's just read a book that is ghostwritten or the author uses a pseudonym. And this is a series that I also want to start. It's the Farseer trilogy, and I actually did not know Robin Hobb was a pseudonym or a pen name for this author, but it was one of the suggestions, and since this was on my TBR list, I want to get into it, and I am very excited to do a reread of the series. I absolutely loved it when I first dived into it. As a synopsis of this book, you have Fitz, who is actually the bastard son of the prince, who has been raised in the stables, and all of a sudden the kingdom decides that they need him. Or more specifically, the royal family decides that they need him and have him start being trained as an assassin by using some of his gifts, magical gifts. And it's a beautiful story. It has great characterizations, and I'm excited to fall in love with Fitz again. Now the next prompt is the narrator, or Dr. John Watson, and the prompt is simply read a book with a narrator. So again, I'm personally going to double dip for this book and just choose Sherlock Holmes. Or honestly, one of my other books would probably work as well. And then I have the consulting detective, Sherlock Holmes, as the next prompt. And for this one, our readathon creators just want us to read a book with a detective in it. I want to read The Silence of the Bone by June Her. I've heard it's wonderful and amazing. It has an incredible mystery in it, and I really want to dive into this story. So I'm excited to pick it up this month. And then you have the bonus prompt, or Toby, and it's the group book, which is reading The Hounds of Baskerville, one of Sherlock Holmes' tales. So once again, I'll be picking up one of these beautiful copies and reading that. So this is my readathon plans. Again, September 19th is the day it starts to November 15th. Please let me know in the comments below if you plan to participate in this readathon or a different readathon. And I'd be really excited to hear about some of your TBRs as well. Have a wonderful day. Might read this one because it looks nice. Or maybe the illustrated one because it has pictures. I haven't decided yet. And I hope to finish it. I have a lot of books coming up.